Hello, everybody. It is your host, Henry Brito again, and welcome to Henry's Podcast and Talk. And I'm here with the two people once again. I'm here with Tim and Geraldo.
Hey, what's up, everybody?
All right. And today we're going to be finally doing the final episode for the Tekken, review, and for all the other Tekken games behind. It's a very special one because we're going to be going over the final games for the series and also a few other side stuff. We're going over the Tekken Tag games, Tekken Tag 1 and Tekken Tag 2, and we're also going to cover also the Tekken Bloodline Netflix adaptation of Tekken 3 and also the Blood Vengeance movie.
All right. Oh, so we're covering like 4 different things in this podcast. We kind of have a lot to cover in this one.
Well, I could easily end off Tekken Tag 1 and 2 pretty easily with this one. Well, I guess with the story of Tekken Tag 1 and 2, it's just very simple. This new being by the name of Unknown appears, and all the characters team up in pairs in order to be able to take down Unknown. And, eventually in the first game, she appears to not win. And in the second game, she pretty much doesn't do much at all in the game, really. When it comes to Tekken Tag 1 and 2, I think Tekken Tag 1 introduced, the whole mechanic of having 2 players at once. Now you can control 2 people at once as well. And also for Tekken Tag 1, I feel like that the game didn't really incentivize much on the tag mechanic, but I feel like the second game, the sequel, ended up improving upon the tag mechanics on that one. You could switch between, most other characters, and I do like how they made this differently. I did play through it yesterday, and I tried out using Jin in his devil form. Apparently, you could transform into Devil Jin without having to switch out with him all the time. And honestly, that's a pretty cool thing that they did with the character.
Did they take the was it a Marvel vs. Capcom? They had the Switch, the tag team thing.
Yeah,
also,
but
the arcade version, right?
Yeah, except it worked. Yeah, Tekken Tag 2 had an arcade version, but Tekken Tag 1 also had one as well. It had its arcade version that had the PS2 release in it, and eventually got an HD release with Tekken Hybrid.
Okay, but I'm saying, did Tekken take the tag team idea from Marvel Capcom?
I'm not sure because I feel like that the game. Tekken Tag 1 did come out during the PS2 generation, and that was probably one of the first PS2 games that they ever published on the console. And I guess you could kind of say that, but I feel like the tag mechanic works completely differently in this one. You can tag you could tag your partner into combos and then do it back to back until you're able to get it all complete.
Oh,
gotcha.
Wow. Okay, so this game, Tekken Tag 1 and 2, they're both on PS2, right?
No, the first game is on PS2, while the second game is on the PS3.
Oh, wow.
Gotcha.
In fact, this game came out after the big downfall that was Tekken 6. back when it was first released out, and then they made a new tag game, and honestly I think this game is pretty good. It just didn't hit as much sales as it used to need, as it needed to be, because a lot of people were finding Tekken 6 to be a lot more competitive, and they were having a very difficult time being able to understand how to play Tekken Tag 2.
And this one also doesn't follow the storyline. This one's just an offshoot.
Yeah, it's like pretty much like a side game to the story. It's like I said, Unknown is just back again, and she's pretty much just trying to fight some of the strongest people, I guess. And it's up to the heroes to just make tag teams and being able to take down, I guess, Unknown in the Tekken in the Iron Fist tag tournament too.
Could you just give like a quick like chronological the games in order from Tekken 1, so like Tekken 1, then Tekken 2.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's Tekken 1, Tekken 2, Tekken 3, then there was Tekken Tag 1, and then Tekken 4 released with different types, and then Tekken 5 came out, Tekken 6, Tekken Tag 2, Tekken 7, and then finally Tekken 8 this year.
Okay. So Tekken Tag 2 is kind of the second newest game in the series.
Yeah, it's kind of one of the newest games in there. For a PS3 game, it's honestly pretty good looking with its intro as well. It's honestly really one of the greatest looking PS3 games I've ever played.
Oh, because Tekken Tag 2 is on PS3, but and it came out after Tekken 6? No, it came out after Tekken 7.
No, it came out after 6.
After 6.
Mm-hmm.
So it's Tekken 6, Tekken Tag 2, Tekken 7, which is on PS4.
Yeah.
Okay, so Tekken 6 and Tekken Tag 2 are on PS3.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. And how does it compare to the other PS3 game like Tekken 6?
Well, I mean, they just added the new tag mechanic, and pretty much some of the combos are still pretty much the same for every character. Except now when Jin does a specific stance to counter his opponents, he's able to at least do some of his Tekken 3 movesets again.
When did Hybrid come out in that order?
Hybrid came out during when the Blood Vengeance movie was making. Oh, speaking of the Blood Vengeance movie, it's about time we get onto this one.
Okay.
So Tekken Hybrid does come with a prologue of Tekken Tag 2. It came out like a small little beta test for people to play the game before it came out. And eventually, this one just lets you play as Kazuya and Jin in their new upgraded devil forms in the Blood Vengeance movie. But you could easily play as their normal ones that they have, and you could play as their normal costume outfits in the game either way. So, long story short, Blood Vengeance's movie is just about Jin finding this one person that has the thing called the M cell, which is something to control the devil gene, because Jin has a hard time controlling it on his own. Eventually, we do meet Alyssa, where she was introduced in Tekken 6, but I feel like in Tekken Blood Vengeance, I feel like she was introduced to be there with Xiao Yu, and Xiao Yu was teaching her the ways of a human heart, because she's a robot, and robots don't really understand the human heart. And I feel like that was a cool idea of Alyssa being in the movie, and I feel like that was great. And eventually, the final fight with the movie was pretty honestly well done. I do like how how someone re-uploaded the whole thing, but re-sounding it to make it sound a lot more epic. I personally feel like that's the best way to go through the fight. And I personally think that the Tekken, mostly with Blood Vengeance, I guess the movie is just, Jin is after the M cell, Kazuya is trying to look for Jin, and Heihachi is just pretty much doing whatever Heihachi mostly does now. And that's pretty much honestly it. Like Jin and Kazuya have a final fight in their devil forms. Heihachi appears in this humongous robot trying to take them down, and eventually Jin is able to defeat both Kazuya and Heihachi, and is pretty much like the victor of those fights. That's pretty much how the movie ends after all.
Gotcha. And it's actual movie.
Mm-hmm. And the only way how to get it normally is to get Tekken Hybrid, honestly.
Came with it?
Yeah, it
Wait,
came...
Sorry, I thought you said it came out on Netflix.
Well, no. Now that you mention it, there was a Netflix adaptation of Tekken 3 called Tekken Bloodline. Basically, the adaptation of Tekken Bloodline was that pretty much the story of how Jin and the others was pretty much different, because the story is just pretty much simple from Tekken 3. Ogre comes over, attacks Jin and Jun at their place, except we do kind of see how Jin kind of dies, I guess, but we don't know if she's actually dead or not, because we get to see the eyes of Jin, and Well, the adaptation isn't really much different. It's just the adaptation of the video game, except much more differently in Netflix's vision. But I do like the new add-ons that they did for it. Like, for once, they added the ability for... They did show how Jin trained under Heihachi. That's one of my biggest things when I don't understand about Tekken 3 is that Jin understood the Mishima fighting style by going to Heihachi, but we never really once saw, like, oh, how did he get that one? And I actually like how the show showed about, you know, him learning the Mishima style and him eventually learning about the devil gene inside of him, being able to cause red lightning. Now, speaking of which, it seems like the way how the Mishimas obtain the electricity inside their bodies and stuff, they're the only kind of clan that's able to, like, you know, when they punch really hard, electricity comes out of their bodies immediately from their punches. It's probably because of their strength and the fact that they contained it in order to be able to just, you know, they tried to contain their strength, I guess, conceal it, but I feel like that we don't really know how they got their electric powers. All we know is that the Mishimas are the only ones who are able to produce, like, lightning like abilities whenever they hit their opponents really powerfully with their fists. But either way, back on the Bloodline, I guess. Bloodline doesn't really, like I said, doesn't really introduce much other than just being an adaptation of Tekken 3's part. And then, you know, it ends off with the same with Jin's storyline in arcade mode being canon, where instead of fighting Heihachi just shoots him right in front of everybody instead of doing it privately, which was kind of suspicious and really weird because it doesn't make much sense. Heihachi would keep his public image normally there, but and mostly do a lot of things behind his family stuff privately. I mean, it's something, I guess, and we get to actually see how Jin lets his devil gene out. His mom's light is still there, but he says, well, sorry, and then completely gives into the devil gene, and then turns into devil Jin, and then flies off into the night, completely, you know, going completely just getting away from his companions. And I think Netflix should be able to adapt Tekken 4 next. I mean, we don't really see much about Kazuya much either way. Like, we get to see like a small little recap of him defeating Heihachi from Tekken 1, and then it shows in Tekken 2 like they were fighting near the volcano part. He lost, and that was pretty much it after that.
Got you. So now, if we have Tekken Tag 1 right after 6, right?
Mm-hmm.
What's your rating on that? Because 6 kind of flopped, right? And then 7 was a 10 out of 10. Whereas Tekken Tag 1,
For
I feel like this is like a
Tag 1 is fine. I'll give it probably like a 7 because, like, for a PS2 game, I feel like that the game is fine. It's just that I wish the tag mechanic was a lot more utilized in that one, because all you do is just switch out your characters and that's it. You don't make combos with them. That's why.
But then fights are longer.
Yeah, but I personally like how they did this but I personally don't really like how they just only said, oh, let's just switch a character and then switch the other one and that's it. I personally think that the sequel is better. I probably give it almost it's almost perfect. I give it probably like, I guess, a 9 out of 10.
Tekken Tag 2?
2.
Yeah, I honestly really like the soundtracks of both games too.
Got you.
But the first game, I actually like Xiao Yu and Eddie Gordo's theme song for his stage. And for Tekken Tag 2, I do like Jin's Far East mix, and I do like the character select theme for that one. It's honestly sounding pretty well for that one.
Nice. What about in right here? Hybrid.
Well, Hybrid, I don't really know much. Tekken, I guess Blood Vengeance was fine, but it didn't really have like musical numbers that I actually got myself really, you know, interested into hearing.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, so how does this Tekken Tag 2, how does that compare to like Tekken 8?
Well, when it comes
I know it's jumping like maybe 2 consoles, but like
well, I would say
do you feel like you still play Tag 2 even though 8's out?
I do go back to Tag 2 whenever I want to play with some of the characters' old movesets, because I do like Tekken 8's moveset. I like how they made the Jin's electrics a lot more easier to pull off in Tekken 8. And I feel like in 7 it's kind of a lot more difficult to do. But I mean, I still enjoy Tekken 8, and I still pretty much go back to Tag 2 whenever I get the chance to. I still do think that, you know, this game did what it needed to do, and I feel like that this is a really good game. I feel like most people were missing the point out of Tekken Tag 2. I feel like the game is pretty well done for what it's trying to be.
All right. Okay. We've done all of them, right?
Yep, all of them actually. All the Tekken stuff. I managed to finish all the tag games and all the other side stuff that they introduced.
So, if you had to pick one out of all the games,
Good question. Good question.
You could only play one Tekken
For the rest of your life.
for the rest of your life. What
Hmm.
Tekken are you playing?
Honestly, if it comes to a lot of content, I would personally pick Tag 2. I feel like because like Tag 2 has so many characters and a lot of stuff to do in, so I would feel like I would definitely pick that game out of all of them because of that. It has the most content out of it.
Okay, and if you never had to play one of them, never had to play it ever again, which one would that be? Even though like
if you could
know,
erase the memory of it.
yeah, like you said, 4 was like a big flop, but then you ended up liking it, and 6 kind of flopped, and then you're like, it's not that bad. Which one is like, if you never played it, you're like, all right, doesn't matter.
Honestly, I would say Tekken 1, honestly. I mean, the first game is decent for what it's trying to do, but I feel like I don't really need to go back to it out of the times because whenever I go back to old Tekken games, I never really think of, I'm going to just go back to Tekken 1, honestly. I just go back to Tekken 3 or some of the PS2 games.
Is that because it's an old console though?
Hmm?
Is that because it's an old console or no?
Well, I guess so, but I just don't feel like the game just really introduces much to the system. That's why.
Okay, all right. What's next for Tekken?
Well, I'm not sure. We have to wait for Tekken 9 to
Right.
come out in about a decade or so. The Battle Pass for Tekken 8, well, not Battle Pass, but the Character Pass is going to be finishing off for this year. And I'm not sure what they're going to do next year for it. Harada said that we have to wait for probably like a decade or so for Tekken 8 specifically, and also for like the 9th game to come out because, well, we don't know what the 9th game is going to have yet. We don't know, like, they're probably going to introduce probably another new character to the series, or maybe.
Okay, now we've gone through everything Tekken, right?
Mm-hmm.
Top,
Tekken
bottom,
Universe, yeah.
left, right. What is a podcast you want to do next that is either similar or different? I know you had Olivia in mind to do something. What is another podcast idea that you have top of your head? Because this is a great series. I've never done a series like this.
I mean, I'm not sure. I have to ask other people to see what we could talk about, and if I'm fine with it, I'll just roll with it, I guess. Because I feel like that I don't mind speaking about my own opinion about video games and stuff, but I feel like just me only isn't going to be enough. I feel like if I bring in another person here, I feel like I can make a better podcast and conversation going.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Love that.
I mean, honestly, I really do like the Tekken podcast. Honestly, when it comes to all the 5 Tekken games I had, like, I could do a whole top 5 of my favorite Tekken games. I think for number 5, I'll give it to, I guess, Tekken 5 or so. I do like it. Number 4, I would give it to... I think probably Tekken 6. I do like the 6 game a lot. Number 3 would be Tekken 3. Number 2 would be Tekken Tag Tournament 2, and number 1 would be Tekken 8. I do like Tekken 8 a lot. I don't mind 7, but I feel like 7 nowadays I would put it up there, but I might replace 6 with 7, honestly. So yeah, for number 4, I would definitely give it to Tekken 7.
That makes sense.
Yeah, probably those are my top 5 Tekken games I definitely go back to now and often.
Okay. Dang, man. I feel like I've learned more about I thought I just played the game. I didn't know there was a storyline. I didn't know there was this in-depth, like, pretty much generational story.
Yeah.
like not only for game players, but for the actual, the characters in the story.
I'm just glad that Tekken 8 finished off the Mishima fight off, but I feel like it's not going to be done yet because they still have to do it with Reina now. I mean, I might as well just have to see what Tekken 9 is going to do. But it was honestly a pretty fun time just speaking about these Tekken games. I genuinely really like some of these other games in the series.
Yeah, thank you for sharing all your knowledge about Tekken.
No
Totally,
problem.
dude. Totally. It's like a learning podcast now.
Yeah,
Just learned
for sure.
everything. Cool. You want to wrap?
Yeah, this was a really fun podcast, honestly. This concludes the end of the Tekken series. I will see you all, but first I like to I would like to bid like a thank you to Tim and Geraldo for sticking with me for the entire Tekken series. And I'd be happy to gladly see everybody in the next podcast. See you all next time.
Rock
Bye.
and roll.
See you next time.
Later.
Thank you so much for listening to the podcast that Tim, Geraldo, and I made. This podcast was something very special for me, and thank you all for listening to this. Thank you again once for listening to the Tekken series that we made for this podcast, because this was a podcast series that I really, really enjoyed a lot. But either way, I am planning to make other few episodes of other people here around in Madison's Boys and Girls Club. If you guys want to speak to me, you could follow up my YouTube channel by the name of Henry Goku Fan 10. I'll be able to at least talk about some ideas or some stuff that you want. And also, but thanks once again for listening to the podcast special. I really love this. And I like to introduce you to a special song to end off the outro. It's called From Tekken Tag 2, Aim to Win. Enjoy. And bye bye for now.